Welcome to Stories and Rhymes with Valerie. Today's special guest is Freddie Frog. Say hi, Freddie.
Ribbit, 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 ribbit.
He's got lots of voices. Today, our stories are, you guessed it, about frogs.
Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit.
All right, so let's get started. Our first rhyme is a little song that you can do actions with. Some of you might even know them, and it involves 5 little frogs sitting on a log. Let's count them and make sure we have them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5. And they're 5 little speckled frogs sitting on our little log. 5 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating some most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumps into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 4 freckled frogs. Croak, croak. 4 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating some most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumps into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 3 speckled frogs. Croak, croak. 3 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating some most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumps into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 2 speckled frogs. Croak, croak. 2 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating some most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumps into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there is 1 speckled frog. Croak, croak. 1 green and speckled frog sitting on a speckled log, eating some most delicious bugs. Yum, yum. One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are no speckled frogs. Croak, croak. So that's green speckled frog. I just printed out some froggies on a log and taped them to some popsicle sticks. You can make your own props to have your own stories times at home. Okay, our next story is a story called The Frog King. Did you ever hear the old story about the foolish frogs? The frogs in a certain swamp decided that they needed a king. They had always got along perfectly well without one, but they suddenly made up their minds that a king they must have. They sent a message to Jove and begged him to send a king to rule over them. Jove saw how silly these frogs were, so that the king who could not harm them he sent. He tossed a big log into the middle of the pond. At the splash, the frogs were terribly frightened and dove into their holes to hide from the king log. But after a while, when they saw that the king never moved, they got over their fright and went and sat on top of him. And as soon as they found he really could not harm them, they began to despise him. And finally, they sent another message to Jove to ask for a new king. Jove sent an eel. The frogs were much pleased and a good deal frightened when King Eel came wriggling and swimming among them. But as the days went on and the eel was perfectly harmless, they stopped being afraid. And as soon as they stopped fearing Eel, they stopped respecting him. Soon they sent a third message to Jove and begged that they might have a better king, a king who was worthwhile. It was too much. Jove was angry at the frog's silliness. I will give you such a king that you deserve, he said, and he sent a stork. As soon as the frogs came to the surface to greet their new king, King Stork caught them in his long bill and gobbled them up. And one after another they came bobbing up, and one after another the stork ate them up. He was indeed a king worthy of them. So the silliness of the frogs got them eaten by the stork. The moral of the story is Be acceptable for what you have. Be okay with what you have. They were happy without having a king. Why did they need somebody to rule over them? Their silliness ended up harming them. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to do a fun little rhyme. I love this one. It's called I Had a Little Frog. It has some fun little sounds to it. Okay. I have a little frog. His name is Tiny Tim. I put him in the bathtub to see if he could swim. He ate up all the water and he drank up all the soap. And now my tiny turtle's got bubbles in his throat. Blub, blub. Did you notice I sang that wrong? You're right. I ate up all the water and drank up all the soap. Silly Valerie. Let's try it again. I have a little frog. His name is Tiny Tim. I put him in the bathtub to see if he could swim. He drank up all the water and he ate up all the soap. And now my tiny frog's got bubbles in his throat. Blub, blub. Have you ever ate soap? Ew, don't do it. Yuck. Okay, so frogs evolve, okay? They change over time. So this is kind of a diagram of what a frog looks like. So this is what a baby little frog eggs look like. They start out smaller, then they get a little bigger, then they turn into something called a tadpole. The tadpoles will eventually get little teeny little gills on the side because they breathe out of things called gills like a fish. And then they'll keep growing. Eventually they start to get legs. They start with their back legs. And then they get their front legs. And then their tail starts to get shorter and shorter before they turn into a young frog and then an adult frog. And that's the life cycle of a frog. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So we just talked about some tadpoles. So now we're going to do a finger play with 5 of our fingers, including our thumb, with tadpoles. And it goes like this. We've got 5 little tadpoles swimming near the shore. The first one said, "Let's swim some more." The second one said, "Let's rest for a while." The third one said, "Swimming makes me smile." The fourth one said, "My legs are growing long." And the fifth one said, "I'm getting strong." 5 little tadpoles will soon be frogs. They'll jump in the water and sit on the logs. And that was the 5 little tadpoles. Okay, we have a poem now called One Tree Toad. Grandfather says the tree toad that to our yard has come is just a little wee toad no bigger than his thumb, and that his coat's so queer it can turn from green to blue. Whatever color's near it, why that its color is too. And then Grandfather snickers and he says, would you suppose he climbs with little stickers on all of his little toes? And don't you wish your toes now were fixed like his? For see, right up the elm tree he goes now and sticks tight to that tree. And then he says, oh dear me, if all of the little boys could screech as loud, I fear there'd be a dreadful noise. And that was One Tree Toad. Okay. All right, so our last little rhyme of the day is called Oh, I Want to Be a Frog. Oh, I want to be an F-R-O-G frog and sit on a L-O-G log. Oh, I want to be an Frog, frog, to eat some bugs and say yum. And that was I want to be a frog. I want to thank you for joining me with Stories and Rhymes Oh My. You guys like to say goodbye to Freddie Frog?
Rabbit, rabbit.
He had a great time too. See you next time.